All right, and welcome into the Rocky Top Insider Instant Reaction Show. Tennessee does it on the field tonight. They win the Knoxville Regional with a victory over Georgia Tech by a score of 9-6. Ryan, this was a wild game. You know, we talked about it yesterday, how that game against Campbell was quite the nail-biter, quite the back-and-forth contest. This one, though, all the drama, well, the majority of the drama, the biggest parts of the drama was saved for the very end, the ninth inning. Tennessee scores 6 runs in the ninth to take the lead and then keep the lead for the win. What was your biggest takeaway from this?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the biggest takeaway is that, one, Tennessee was knocking on the door the whole entire game. Yep. Leadoff man on board, 7 in 9 innings. Maxwell, the starting pitcher, Zach Maxwell, starting pitcher for Georgia Tech. Tennessee batters were 0-15 with runners on base when he was in the game. Man. The Vols had runners on base all game. They had chances, and they really just couldn't knock them in. They got their first run on a Georgia Tech error, and then slowly chipped away. In the 7th inning, it looked like they were going to tie the game. They pulled within 1. They got runners on first and third with 1 out, inning double play. 8th inning, they get a runner on to start off the inning, and then Evan Russell grounds into a double play. 3 innings where they ground into double plays.
This game.
Yeah, 3 of them for Tennessee. 2 of those runners in scoring position. And then in the 9th, the dam breaks, and Tennessee just explodes for 6 runs. And they needed all 6 runs because it got dicey in the bottom half of the 9th with Georgia Tech scoring 2, getting the tying run on first base and the winning run at the plate as Redmond Walsh got a strikeout.
Bases were loaded.
To punch the ticket to the Knoxville Super Regional next weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it was just it was really a crazy game back and forth, but you really think about the way that Tennessee was able to bounce back consistently throughout this game, and I think that was one of the biggest things. And then, like you had mentioned earlier, the 6-run 9th inning was wild, and I think that so much of it was fueled by the environment that was here in Knoxville. The atmosphere, Tennessee's crowd was tremendous the whole game, just continuing to help will them along. But what about the pitching? I want to go over to that real quick. It was Drew Beam starting on the mound today, but Will Mabry was the one who came in. You know, Georgia Tech's head coach after the game said that he felt like Mabry was maybe the hero of the game for what he was able to do. Did not allow a run in his innings pitched, 3.2. What did you see from him, and how impressed were you? Yeah,
I mean, we saw the guy that we've seen for most of the season. It was a little bit shaky, maybe the last month. It seems like he's gotten better. The last few weeks kind of back to form, but it was just a dominant outing, and he mixed pitches. He threw that cutter that he can throw and kind of manipulate multiple different ways. Check out my story on it at Rocky Top Insider earlier this season, and he was absolutely fantastic, and I completely agree with Danny Hall for saying that. And really, I would say Drew Beam, I don't think was maybe as bad as the numbers look. Cortland Lawson made a huge error that allowed 2 runs to score, and then he just kind of ran into a wall.
A couple of little bit errant throws to first base in the game.
Yeah, it was not a good night for Cortland Lawson. And even with all that said, he makes a play in first and second. I can't remember what inning it was in. Maybe the 5th. Will Mabry was pitching. There's 2 outs, kind of a grounder up the middle. He is able to get his body in front of it. He doesn't completely knock it down. Didn't really matter. He wasn't going to get the guy out at first either way, but that allowed Jarrell Ortega to get to the ball quickly. Georgia Tech sends the runner from second home. Tennessee gets the out. And like you said, Will Mabry, Tennessee's bullpen, Georgia Tech was at 4 from the 4th inning until the 9th when Tennessee had the lead. And when Tennessee just couldn't get a big hit to break the game open, I mean, that was huge. It kept Tennessee in striking distance really the whole game, and that's when their back was against the wall in the 9th, they got it done.
Yeah, they absolutely did, and the crowd certainly went wild for it. So that is going to be it. Tennessee does win the Knoxville Regional, 3 straight wins throughout the weekend. Alabama State on Friday, Campbell on Saturday, and then, of course, Georgia Tech today. Ryan, before we get into everything that's going to be coming up next week, and, hey, we are going to be doing a Knoxville Regional podcast to kind of break down the whole thing, so be on the lookout for that. Ryan, just kind of final takeaways from the weekend. What did you see overall that you're taking into next week? Yeah, well, I think Tennessee got pushed, which was the biggest takeaway. And it got to 3 runs in the 9th after Tennessee went up by 5. But I was thinking after Tennessee took a 5-run lead, I was like, man, these last 2 games are going to be the most competitive 5-run wins we've seen all season. And Tennessee came from behind down 4-0 in both of those games. Yeah. Tennessee's bullpen, I mean, the starting pitching has been the story of a lot of this season. The bullpen picked the starting pitching up in the last 2 games. And maybe today, what was impressive, and we kind of talked about it, the offense didn't do a ton until the 9th inning, but to score as many runs as they did, 9 runs, didn't have a single home run tonight. Yeah. And it was just kind of a complete effort, and I think Tennessee flexed its depth, which I kind of alluded to with the bullpen. And then 2, I want to make a note about it. In that 9th inning, you have Jared Dickey comes off the bench, who leads it off with a single at the middle. Yep. And then for the 2nd straight night, Christian Moore provides just a massive 2 insurance runs tonight. It was 1 last night against Campbell with a 2 RBI single that
extended Tennessee's lead to 3 in the 9th inning, and he's been a guy that we kind of talked about it yesterday, has struggled a lot since his heroic Sunday performance at Florida back 5 weeks ago and now. So I think it's huge for Tennessee to get him and get his confidence up, and I think that says a lot that when he has struggled and he wasn't in the starting lineup for a single game this weekend, he goes 2 for 2 at the plate with 2 massive hits.
Yeah, even Coach Vitello talked about that after the game. Hey, this is the kind of guy who, when he sees those lights in the biggest moment, this is a guy who's going to want to pull through for his team, and I think you certainly saw him do that for his teammates tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Vitello didn't use this term, but kind of a gamer. He even kind of talked about sometimes we got to push him a little bit to get him going at practice, but when the lights are the brightest, he's ready, and he certainly proved that this weekend.
Again, be on the lookout for RTI's Instant Reaction podcast. That'll be going down and breaking down the entire Knoxville Regional in its entirety. But for now, we are going to go ahead and get out of here. Again, your final score on the field tonight, Tennessee wins by a score of 9-6 over Georgia Tech. They win the Knoxville Regional in 3 straight games. For Ryan Schumpert, for Rick Butler, this has been the RTI Instant Reaction. We'll see you for the Supers next week.